Welcome to episode 2 of Around the World in 50 Foods. And today we are making...
Are we making tacos again?
No, that was episode 1. Go check it out. We have it up there, but... Alright, I am back. Today we're going to make one of the best foods you can possibly have in the winter. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it is pho. I know it's not pronounced pho, it's pho, but it's just too weird for me to say. Anyways, without further ado, let's get going. Most people's very first introduction to Vietnamese food is this noodle soup, which is pronounced pho. The Vietnamese people, where this dish has originated from, actually consider it medicine because it is so filling. The key to this soup is time, really. So yes, this dish is going to take you plenty of time to make, but you don't have to stand by it the whole time. The real parts where you have to be attentive, it's really only about 40 minutes. Here are the ingredients you need. For the soup, you'll need bones. So we have a couple of bone pieces here. These are beef marrow bones and center cut beef. Also has bone. So this will provide you with the meat that's going to go into the soup and also that tasty, rich beef broth. To go along with that, we're going to season the soup with fish sauce. Now, take a look at this. You see the 3 crabs here? That's what you're looking for. This is the brand to use, and what you're looking for is this nice, clear color of the sauce. Anything too old, you gotta throw it out. There's gonna be no flavor, and the soup will turn out to be a mess. Along with that, you will need a whole bunch of ginger and a full onion. These will give that rich flavor and add all the aromatics you'll need to the soup. Alright, here are the secret ingredients. You need whole cloves and a ton of star anise. This is the flavor, this is what's going to give it that signature spice flavor of the soup, and it's a critical ingredient. Okay, once your broth is ready, you're gonna need a couple of things to plate this up. The meat will be taken care of, it will be part of the broth. You'll need some rice noodles, which we usually get either the medium ones or the thin ones. This is what was available at the moment, so we got the medium. You're gonna need some bean sprouts, Thai basil if you can get your hands on it. We weren't able to. And last but not least, tons of green onion. And that's it. So let's start cooking. Another reason why pho is one of my all-time favorite foods is because the cleanup is so easy. It's a one-pot deal. You only need a giant stock pot. This is a 6-quart, I think, stock pot. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to soak all this meat overnight. The reason why you want to soak the meat is so that you can get rid of all the blood. Part of the pho cooking process is to skim off all the scum on the top. The scum is basically cooked blood, and if you soak it overnight, you'll get rid of a lot of that and save you a lot of work. So let's get going.
We have soaked the meat overnight for 24 hours, which means we're now ready to get this cooking so that we can eat some pho for dinner tonight.
Yep. Traditional Asian broth is always clear. That's kind of how you know you have a really nice broth. That's part of the reason why we soaked it, so there's less impurities. Now I'm gonna go dump this water, get a second batch of water going, 2 batches, and Tia will give you the lowdown on the secret to nice, flavorful broth.
Now to get the best flavor in your broth, there's two ingredients that we're really gonna focus on to start. The first is onion, and the second is ginger. And we're gonna cut these up, not too small. We're gonna keep the pieces quite large, and we're actually gonna take these and char them a little bit before we put them in our broth. So I'm gonna start with the onion, and you'll notice on an onion you've got the two ends to it, which you probably typically cut off. In this case, this one right here that has all of your little vines and dried area, we're gonna keep this intact because this is going to allow your onion to stick together. So we'll go ahead and start cutting. You'll obviously want to take the shell off because we don't want to put that in our food. And I'm just going to cut the onion, sorry, I'm going to cut it this way, right in half. All right, so we've got our two halves here. I'm going to clean these up a little bit. I'm going to try not to cry while I'm cutting these. All right, so your onion should look something like this once you have it cleaned. Again, you're gonna have the little fuzzies at the end, but you'll see my onion is now staying intact, which is exactly what we want. We don't want the little pieces to come out and float away. So I'm just gonna do the same thing with the other half of the onion as well. Okay, so there we go. Our onion is good to go. We're now gonna do the same thing with the ginger. Now ginger, you're probably used to peeling it before you actually cut it or use it in anything. For your pho broth, you're actually going to keep the skin on, and you're just gonna cut big chunks like this in half or into thirds. All right, that's it. Now we're gonna take these over to the stove where we're going to char them a little bit in a pan. All right, when I said we're gonna char it in a pan, that is one of the options you have to char your onion and your ginger. However, if you have a barbecue or a gas stove with an open flame, that's another great way that you can get a nice char on your onion and ginger. So we're actually gonna use our camping stove here. We're gonna get a nice fire going. We have these grates that's going to allow us to put the onion and the ginger on so that we can get a char on the outside. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you're probably freaking out a little bit thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna set these on fire. And that's what it might seem like you are really setting your ginger and your onion on fire, but this is what you need to do to char it. And the more char you get and the better the char you get, the more flavor will be released from the onion and the ginger. So this step is really important. Don't worry, nothing is going to catch on fire. However, if you are doing indoor cooking and you're using a camping stove like we are for this step, please, please, please make sure you have some windows open to get air circulation.
Thanks, Tia, for showing us those great tips. Now, I've just started our 2 pots of water so that we can get this pho broth started. But let's take a look at what the meat is supposed to look like after you have soaked them. So here are our 2 different cuts of meat. We have first the bone, and in the bone right here, you have this marrow part, which is the soft squishy bit in the middle. Look what happens when I push down on it. You see how there's blood coming out, and this is why it's very important to soak all this meat. It allows you to get that really nice clear broth that we were talking about, and it reduces a lot of the work that you have to do so you don't have to sit there and skim the scum all the time. Here's the second piece of meat, and this piece is very, very, very squishy. Again, you see this little bit in here where the blood is coming out, and that's okay. Now that we have looked at the soaked meat and what they should look like, and Tia has prepared all our aromatics, all we have to do is wait for the water to boil, then we can get the broth going. Our water is boiling in this pot right here, and we're going to start putting the meat right into this water. Now, this is not going to be the actual broth, because we are still going to do one extra step of boiling to get some of this remaining scum out before we transfer it into the broth. Now, some of you might think we're losing flavor by doing this. We are definitely not. To make a nice clear broth, it's really like after about an hour of boiling does the flavor start coming out. So we're going to put this in here and let it boil for about 20 minutes while skimming the scum off. Now it's very important to get every single bit of the meat in there so that you can get as much scum out as possible. You're gonna wait for about 20 minutes while skimming the scum before we dump this water for a fresh batch.
Alright, so we've got this boiling for a little while now. We've been scraping out off the scum. Now it's time to swap the water. And this is going to be the last time that we're swapping the water.
Let me do that.
Oh, good. Doing it for me. This will be the last time that we're swapping the water before we actually start the broth. The reason that you want to swap it is the water that's been boiling for the past, whatever, 20 or so minutes is going to have a really gamey taste to it because it has all that scum still coming out. So Andy's currently dumping it. He's going to put some fresh, clean water back in the pot with all of the meat.
We got the meat in the clear boiling water now. It's time to add some of our charred ingredients, which means our onions. Slippery onion. Whoa. The onions are gonna go in. And all of the ginger. Tongs are hard to use. I'd rather chopsticks. We're gonna leave the spice packets out, as if we put them in right now, you're gonna lose all of that nice spicy flavor. But it's time to add the fish sauce. Adding the fish sauce, there's no exact science to it. I've actually experimented with this like 3 times going through this whole entire process to try to get a actual measurement so that I can give you guys, but I couldn't really come up with one that was very consistent. But I was able to get nice consistent. The tap just broke. Be right back. And we're back. What was I saying? Oh yes, the fish sauce. I couldn't really get a measurement because it really depends on how much meat you have and water is in here. But what I'm going to say is, you can always add more. So we're going to start with $12 seconds worth of fish sauce to begin with, and we're gonna taste test this after an hour, and if it's not salty enough, we're gonna add a little bit more. Look how clear this broth is, and this is the way we want to keep it. So we're gonna let this go for about another 20 minutes on a hard boil, and then we're gonna turn it all the way down until it's a simmer. In this 20 minutes, this is where you're gonna get pretty much the last remaining bit of the scum, so stand around and get it all off right now.
Now we're ready to build our flavor packets, as I like to call them. This is where we're gonna put all of our herbs and spices into tea bags. Now, a couple of pro tips coming at you here. The first one is to double bag your tea bags. So we always take two, we put one inside of the other. And that will ensure that all of our spices stay within the bag as they soak for the next few hours. So let's start to actually build this spice packet. All right, so let's build our spice packet. There's gonna be 2 ingredients that will go directly into the packet and then 1 secret ingredient that we're gonna talk about in one moment. But to start, we are going to get whole cloves, and you want about 1 tablespoon worth, which is what we have in this bag here. So I'm just gonna take this, and this is going to go directly into our spice packet. So you can see in there, we've got our tablespoon of whole cloves all ready to go. We haven't ground these up, they're completely whole. That is important when it comes to the spice packet. Now the second piece of spice that we're putting in here is gonna be star anise. You're gonna want about 8 of them. So we've got just a jar here from previous cooking that we've done, and we're gonna take 8 whole ones if we can get them, or we're gonna start to take some of the small pieces. And you do wanna get some of these broken apart. So I'm just gonna take them and put them here. So if you've never seen star anise before, it is literally in the shape of a star, which is why it's called star anise. And it's pretty dry and brittle. You're gonna be able to easily break those star pieces off. So we're just gonna start putting those in as well. You can see some of these pieces are already broken, so we should be okay there. We got a few more. Okay, so now that you've broken them all up, we're gonna again add these to our spice packet. So your spice packet should now be looking pretty full. You can see it's filled up with our 2 ingredients. Now, our third ingredient we're not gonna put in here, which means we are now ready to actually close up this packet. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And we're gonna set that aside. Our third spice, very, very important, and we almost call this our secret ingredient, is a stick of cinnamon. And this is going to be broken up, not too much, and it's gonna go straight into the pot to also soak with the broth.
It's been 2 hours and a couple of scotches later, it's time for us to do a quick taste test. All this time, I've been topping the water level up so that it's still at the same level, but let's see if we have good seasoning. Not bad, not bad. You know what's missing? A few more seconds of the fish sauce. All right. And now we put our spice packets in. We just drop them straight in and let it go for a few more hours. Now at this time, you'll also want to be taking the onion out. The onion is going to be soft and almost coming apart, and we don't want that to make the soup cloudy. So we're going to take our onions out and we're done with them. They can go into the compost. Onion number 1, onion number 2. Good to go. See you in another 2 hours.
Well, we've had the soup simmering for about 4 hours now. Yes, I know that seems like a long time, but I promise you it's absolutely worth it, because the low heat and the long simmering is what's really going to give the soup flavor. So now that we're done simmering, what we're actually gonna do is remove all of the meat from the broth, and we're gonna put it in the fridge because we need to slice it into small pieces. And if you do that while the meat is hot, it's just gonna fall apart and crumble. So we're gonna take it all out. I've got a Tupperware right here with me that I'm gonna put all of the meat into. So let's do that.
It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's dinner time in about an hour. It's time to soak the noodles. These noodles are dehydrated, and I find that they cook way better, and you get this like real nice feel when you soak them first and just quickly put them through hot water. So we're gonna do that right now before we cook. Just put the noodles into some warm water and wait about 20 to 30 minutes. While we're waiting for the noodles to soak, let's prepare some of our garnishes. We got a lime to squeeze into the soup. We got some green onions, bean sprouts, and the meat that was from making the broth. It has been sitting in the fridge, so the meat should be nice and firm and ready for us to cut. We're gonna start with the easy stuff, the green onion. We don't want this stuff in the back, so we'll cut that off. And also trim the tip because there's some nasty looking dead stuff. And we'll get rid of that. Now, green onion in pho doesn't need to be tiny. You want large pieces. So take your knife and hold it at a 45-degree angle and then just cut large pieces like this. And you're good to go. The next bit of garnish that we'll need for the pho is some bean sprouts. Nice and easy. They're supposed to be raw, so just put them on your plate. I like a lot of bean sprouts. So 2 handfuls. The last of the easy stuff is the lime. 2 tips that we've already given before. One is to roll it. Rolling the lime will release all the juices, so it makes it nice and easy to squeeze and you get that nice satisfying feeling of all the juices coming out. And secondly, here's the pro tip of how to avoid seeds in your food. A lot of people cut the lime right down the center like this, right down the center. And what that's gonna do is get the center and that's where all the seeds are. So cut around the center so that the lime is in little bits like this, and you will never get any seeds in your food. You cannot eat pho without some meat, so let's get some. This is what the meat now looks like after it has been in the fridge, so nice solid pieces. We're gonna take out a good amount of meat. That should be enough for one person. And all you want to do is slice it so that it's nice and bite-sized. Now, the pieces that we use are not going to slice up nice and easy. For those pieces, what you want is brisket. Unfortunately, we were not able to get that. And tendon is also a good choice if you want those nice pieces for presentation. But this would be nice and tasty regardless. Now with all that prepared, all we have to do is cook the noodles and put the broth in. So let's go check on that progress.